Hi, I'm Gabby and welcome to my channel. Today's video is a little different. I have a special guest. As you can see, she and we both are married to Ghanaian men, and I wanted us to sit down and talk about making the decision to marry and the lessons we learned thus far. So without further ado, let me welcome to you, Shalanda. So Shalanda, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Gabby. I'm so excited to be on Married to the Culture because I'm definitely married to the culture, honey child. Yes, I am Shalanda Michelle, and the name of my channel is Finding Shalanda Michelle. You can find me on all social media outlets. And two particular things that I strive to talk about on my channels are how to think, live, and work differently. And secondly, thrive. It's a lifestyle you were born to. And in the midst of all of that, I talk about being married to my Ghanaian husband, the culture, as well as the cuisine, and our life living abroad as foreigners. So, once again, thank you for having me on your channel.
You're so welcome. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to throw out some questions and then we can just answer these questions. So let's get started. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, is what attracted you to your husband, and were those things that attracted you, do you think it was attributed to his culture?
What attracted me to my husband? First of all, it was his body because he's sexy. And secondly, I don't think that has anything to do with his culture. His dreams, his faith, his belief, it aligned with mine. I talk about on my channel living the life of more, an abundant life, a prosperous life. And when I shared my dreams with him of going after this life of more, he did not for 1 second tell me that it wasn't possible. He told me that he believed that everything that my heart desired, that if I want it, I can get it. He said, if other people have it, why not? Why I can't have that? So just his belief in me, his belief in my dreams, and him not ever, not being my cheerleader to go after what I desire in life. And I don't think that's aligned with his culture at all. I just think that's him being the individual that he is.
So, what attracted me to my husband was, I would say, he had a plan. He was a man of action. He knew what he wanted. He had like dedication and determination. And I would say he was decisive, which I'm not. I'm very like indecisive. And those are the things that really attracted me to him. I know he was, when we were getting to know each other, he was telling me the different things that he did, like he had his own businesses and things like that. So when I was there visiting him, I was able to see that there was some three guys that were working with him that came over, and he was, speaking with them in the room. I could tell they were having a conversation about the job. He came in and like grabbed this bag out of the room that had like, it was similar to like the bank money bags or something that you had with the money in it, and he took it out and went and paid the people. And just watching that display just showed me like he's a businessman, he's a leader, had leadership skills. I don't know, it's just something sexy about seeing someone handle their business.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah. What are some stereotypes that you may have heard about African men, and did you find those to be true of your husband?
One of the most known stereotypes that I've heard is that they marry several women. And I just think that's like a folklore that's just been going around. And I'm sure back in the biblical days, they did that. A lot of people, in the biblical days, they had more than one life. It was more than one wife, and it was acceptable then. But that's not the case for my husband. Honestly, when I came into the relationship, I had a long list of questions to ask, not only for him, but for myself. And then I also asked about, the generations of his family, his dad, his uncle, his grandparents, were they married to, more than one woman? Do they even have children outside of their marriage? And it was no, they are one woman men. So that was it's funny because the marriage counselor that we went with, they actually asked me that. They asked me that by myself. They were like, does he believe in marrying more than one woman? And I was like, no, he's actually Seventh-day Adventist. So that was a stereotype that individuals had about, marrying an African.
My husband is of the Islam faith, so that definitely was like something that I heard before. We had a discussion as well, and his take on it, he gave me like this understanding of, okay, even though it is an option that they can take, you have to be able to support all four of those wives. So that's not something you should just take on because you can, but you got to be able to provide for all those households. But that's not something that we believe in this household. Yeah, that's definitely one of the stereotypes I heard. And then the other thing, that they are very like dominant type men, very traditional roles. I don't know if that's a stereotype, I would say.
He tells me all the time. He said that if I was a Ghanaian woman, there would be some different expectations of me. But because I was not born in that culture, he is not as hard on me, especially when it comes to the household chores and things of that nature. It's not like I have to do it, but as a Ghanaian woman, they know that that is a part of their role,
Yeah.
But I feel as though there's always a compromise, because if no one wants to do laundry, send it to the cleaners. If no one wants to clean up, you hire someone to come and clean. So I feel as though, even though I probably don't carry on those traditional roles, as a woman, the expectation of me as a Ghanaian woman, there's always a workaround. But I feel as though he gives me grace. He gives me a lot of grace because I wasn't born, as a Ghanaian woman. But he did tell me that things would be differently if I was Ghanaian.
Yeah, I can see that. And that's something that kind of similar with my husband. I would say that he's traditional, but in our house, it's really about it's about the two people. Like what you decide you want your family to look like, what you want your marriage to look like. And I know for us, my husband does the majority of the cooking. He enjoys cooking. He cooks well.
Why do
I
they like
love
to
his
cook?
cooking. I don't know, but
My husband loves to cook. Now he enjoys when I cook for him. Like if I'm telling you, if I want to make his day, want him to have a really good day, I just can cook. My husband is very easy to please. All I have to do is cook, and that will make his entire day. But him, on the other hand, he loves to cook. He loves to prepare his traditional meals.
Yes, it's the same here. It's the same here, because when we found, initially it was a hard time for us to find a Ghanaian grocery store, but we did find one, and once he did that, he really got into it, cooking different meals and stuff like that, because he had access to those items that he needed. So yeah, he really enjoys cooking, and I'm glad, because I don't love to cook.
Me either, Gabby.
I don't enjoy it. It's like,
because to me, it's like work.
That's what. Yes. I can.
Labor, and I'm not a labor. I don't like the labor. I don't like labor. It's labor. Honestly, down to the shopping, down to putting the food away, down to prepping it, preparing. That's why I like to prep our food, because it makes it simpler to cook. But all of that, literally, it becomes a part-time job.
And especially their particular meals, you can't just go through. It's not any quick meals. You have to take your time to cook their meals. You have to chop up all the vegetables, and like that's not a quick turn around. You're gonna be at
Girl, you gotta blend in. I cook fufu. You will see, there's like a fufu challenge going on now. And so actually, if you go to our channel, we actually have we cook fufu once in our house. And I tried my hand at it. And if you don't have, first of all, kudos to all the women that can pound the fufu, that can mash the fufu, that can stir the fufu, because I can't. I tried. I failed.
Yeah. we even bought the one that's in the box. Like we did the cheap method, bought the one in the box. It doesn't taste as good as the one that you really have to. You still have to stir that one as well, the one that's in the box.
Yes.
But
that's the one we did. Yeah, we
that
still
still
had to get
work
on the
too.
floor. Daniel literally had to
Mhm.
get on the floor to control it, to get it to
It's work.
move.
It's
It's
work.
work. It's work. So yeah, I'll pass.
When they say cooking is like a labor of
I
love,
mean, to all the people that are knocking African food, I just feel as though you have not opened your mind.
mhm.
You really have to be open-minded when you try anything.
Yeah,
So the wachi, the banku, the
I
okra
love
soup, the tomato stew, my favorite, the peanut butter soup, it's all
it.
banging. I love it. And you
Yeah.
just have to open your mind. So please don't say you don't like it without first being open to like it. So that's just a little small little
Yeah.
advice for me, from people that been like, oh, it looks nasty, I can't eat that, and this is
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, because if you go strictly by looks for some of the dishes, you really wouldn't want to try it at all. You really wouldn't. But because I was kind of like that at first too, but like, let me stop. Let me just. Sometimes the smells take time to get used to too. Some of the dishes,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
they
because I think it
taste
depends on their
great.
spices. Because sometimes Daniel
Mhm.
uses like this dried fish, and I'm like, oh,
But
what
it
is
makes it taste so
that?
good when you eat it, though.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
delicious. Yes,
Mhm. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, like you got to be open to it because now, like, I love it all. Like I'm tearing it up.
Girl, and you got to be very, you have to be really, you have to be conscious, because it can be starch heavy, you know,
Yes.
and you have
Yes.
to be, especially when it comes to my stomach, I have to be, but because Daniel works out, it doesn't affect him like
Mhm.
it affects me. So I have to, because
Yeah.
even when I eat soup, people like, you eat soup with salad? And I'm like, yeah, we eat soup and salad all the time in the US.
Uh,
He's like, no, no, you got to eat it with rice.
did
I'm
he
like,
teach you how
no.
to pick up like the fufu and all that stuff? Like you know how to do that?
Yeah.
I'm still not
I'm,
great.
I'm going to tell you that I am not, because the other day we posted a reel of us eating the fufu, and
Mm.
he was like, swallow, swallow. So the picking up I can do, but the swallow, I'm just like, I try. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, he's like, you don't chew fufu. But I'm like, I can't swallow it. My reflexes don't work with this food.
We had that conversation a couple of weeks ago when we were eating it. I'm like, I can't swallow that. I feel like I'm gonna choke. Like I have to chew it. And he's like, what the same thing. What are you doing? You just swallow it. I'm like, I can't do that. Like I can't. I enjoy it. I love it. It tastes good, but I gotta chew it. Like
Yes,
I
I had to chew
can't.
it. I
It's
do,
good though.
honestly.
It's good.
But
I love
with time, you never know
it.
what
Hmm.
will happen.
But for
But I
now,
feel as though the enjoyment is in the chewing it. Because if I swallow, how am I gonna really savor the taste?
right,
My
right.
palate needs to let it immerse on my tongue and get the
Mm-hmm.
spices all in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
They say
once again,
swallow.
that's a part of the culture.
Definitely. I have to get used to that. I'm still working on that. So for now, we're going to chew. Was there something that gave you confirmation that it was okay for you to marry your husband?
Oh, yes, indeed. So when I first came here to the UAE, I came by myself on a solo trip. You can go to my
Mm-hmm.
website. Yep, you can go to my website, and you can go to YouTube. You can listen to that. And it was the last day of my vacation. And so he hung out with me. Mind you, I had just met him like less than 24 hours before leaving. And I met him in Abu Dhabi. And when I was in Dubai, I met this Kenyan girl. She was like, oh, you have to go to the African clubs before you leave here or whatever, because they're banging. And I'm like, okay. And so end up, I'm lying on the beach. And so there's my husband. I didn't know he was running down the beach, in some very bright orange shorts. And so he sees me, he comes and sits, he asks, and he sit with me or whatever. And he was like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? You want to go to the African club? And I was like, well, I'll be in America tomorrow. He was like, oh, well, let's go tonight. And I'm game, let's go. So we end up hanging out. And it's funny, like, once again, I'm not gonna give you all the details, but hanging out. But anyway, so I had to tell myself, well, after this, I'm never gonna talk to him again. I'm getting, once again, my emotional intelligence, I talk about that, is very low. It's getting better. But I end up getting bored on my way to US. So I end up, because everybody sleep. It's like a 9-hour difference depending on where you are in the US. And I end up texting him. And then that conversation just continued. And during our conversations back in the US, I was like, well, okay, I'm planning, my next trip. And then it's gonna be for my birthday in June. And then he came back, and I was like, I'm going to South Africa. And he came back. He was like, you know what? South Africa's going to be hard for me the way my passport is set up. And he was like, let's go to Thailand. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't invite you. Sharing my plans with you. But then I end up looking up Thailand. I'm like, 30 baht to $1, just the conversion, the currency conversion. I was like, I think I'm gonna like this. And I was like, okay. So we end up going to Thailand for my birthday for 2 weeks. I mean, I met less than 24 hours, and we had the most phenomenal time. One of the best vacations I've ever had, if not the best vacation I've ever had. Mind you, I go on vacation with my family often, and there is not one vacation that no one argues or disagrees about something. But I met this stranger and we got along. And then anybody else can tell you too. I tend to be very difficult. And most people that I go on vacation with in the past, it has changed. I don't go on vacation with them again. So that was a sign that, wow, he really has the patience to put up with my nuances. Because I actually had a cousin that said, she was like, girl, you too much. Nobody's not going to put up with you, and then God delivered someone who was like extremely patient and who would put up with me. And he said it all the time. He's like, with his friends, he's like, I could never date any of his friends because they're too headstrong. Whereas my husband, he doesn't believe in adding fuel to the fire. Anytime there's a disagreement, he's like, we're not going to talk about it now. He's like, you chill out. And then he said, a couple hours later, tomorrow, we'll have the conversation. So that's one of those things where he becomes an alpha. When it comes to things like, he's like, no, we're not going to talk about this now. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to talk about it. And he'll give me that look. He's like, no, we're not going to talk about this now. I'm like, okay, we're not going to talk about it tomorrow.
Put you in your place. But I like that. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, like go sit down somewhere. We need that sometimes.
And it's funny. It's funny. I tell him all the time. It's like, I feel as though I'm your mother and your wife. But in the same way, I want him to be my dad and my husband. Like, I want him to tell me, go sit your ass down. Okay? Yeah. I be wanting that roughness. It was just crazy. It's crazy. It is so crazy.
It is.
Psychological craziness going on. You know what I mean? But we love this show, 90 Days Fiance. And it was like this Moroccan guy and this American girl. And the same thing he said that she needs to do like my mom. Like, even though he wants her to be her wife, he wants the lady to act like his mom. He wants her to cook for her, clean for her. So I'm just like, is that like normal that you want your husband to be like your dad and you want your wife to be like your mom?
I know my husband was telling me, he was like, you are me, meaning me, that I'm his mother, his sister, his wife. I'm all of those things. That I should be all of those things. Like,
is that a Ghanaian thing? My husband says that.
I guess it is. It's like, you're not literally that person doing like that, but those things that you would get from those people, those relationships, meaning being there for them, being support system. I guess those are the things that they're talking about. You're bringing that to them as their wife. You're there to serve in that capacity, I guess, that type relationship. Like, not literally like I'm your mom. I'm your mom, but like,
but my husband says that he's like, you're my everything.
Yeah,
he's like, you're my mom, you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my aunt. He's like, you're my everything. And so I'm assuming he's saying that I am his world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Kind of like that. Yeah, he made that comment to me before, and I'm like, okay. but it makes sense to me. Like you're supposed to be one. You're a unit, so you're supposed to be able to provide all those things. Like be that support system, give them whatever they need, and he vice versa. It's not just you, but your husband is, like you said, your father, your brother, your husband, your friend, all those things. So.
But when I was in Ghana, a lot of people were saying, they was like, make sure you take care of him. I'm like, take care of him. He's supposed to be taking care of me. Yeah, everybody kept saying that. It's like, make sure you take care of him. Make sure you take care of him. And then when I think about it, he told me how his sister them were raised. Like immediately once they're old enough to get chores, they have something to do. So he was like, he never cooked in the house. That was his sister's job. He was like, even if he would come home, that's their job, to come home and cook. And I was like, wow, the mom has been training them to be a wife before they even knew what a wife was. Well, we don't get that training. My mom didn't make me cook.
Mm-hmm.
My mom cooked all our meals. My mom cooked all our meals. I had just wanted to learn how to cook, but my mom never said that this is your chore, you have to cook. But for them, they teach them how to be a wife. They teach them how to cook, how to clean, how to do laundry from a very young age.
Because now women now they're more in the workforce, they have careers and things like that. But back in the day, that's what little girls were raised to do. Like you're going to become a wife one day, you're going to become a mother one day. So your mom taught you those things, how to cook. It was important to know how to cook before you left the house, how to take care, how to clean the house, how to do all those things. But we've gotten away from that, and that's something I'm working on with my daughter. I'm like, you got to learn how to do all these things, not just
even do hair. Like I can't do hair for the life of me, because from a young age I was already going to the beauty salon in elementary school. I had my appointment every week to get my hair done.
Yeah, I remember getting the perm at a very I probably was like first or second grade too, something like that, when I got my first perm, because my aunt was a beautician, so she did it. But yeah, similar.
We're thinking like, oh, okay, I'm teaching them, how to be, first world. But I'm learning that, especially in the pandemic, those skills were very important. Cooking skills were very important. Know how to do your own hair was very important, because people could not come to you. Even now, I'm learning the importance of sustainability, having a garden, even if it's a small garden. I'll tell you one thing, we're going to have a garden when we get our own place and some land. We're going to plant some things, even if it's just tomatoes. We're going to plant some things, because this
could happen again.
This COVID-19 has taught you that you need to be able to take care of yourself. And even some chickens. And I already told my one goats already. So
what lessons have you learned since being married, and do you feel it's the result of the lessons that you've learned? Do you feel it's a result of your husband's cultural background?
Okay. Most importantly, I learned respect. But that respect of a man, non-negotiable. Like you would be left, honey. So that was a very important lesson I learned. I had to learn very early. Is the respect piece, coming from a first world country where women are very independent. And even though I am an equal, he wants me to have equal say, of course, but still there has to be an honor. And there still has to be a respect, and it's because of my love for him. It's just certain things that I can't say, certain things that I can't do that will, dishonor my husband. So it's just making sure that I respect him in all ways. I had to learn that the hard way. And honestly, that's the only thing they want. Well, I don't know about Johnny, but as far as my husband, that's the only thing he wants. That when he knows that I respect him, that kind of like, satisfied. The respect, the respect piece.
Yes, that's very, 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 very important to them. My husband's the same way. Like I said, I would say non-traditional roles, meaning that because he cooks more than I do, but that's fine with him being in the kitchen, but that I still have to give him that respect. He's still the head of the household, the head of the family, so I have to respect him with that. So that's something that, of course, respect would be in any marriage, but I feel like from their culture, that's like even utmost. Like they take that very, very serious. Like you said, it will be a major problem if that's something that you don't have. He kind of gave me a mirror to see myself and show. I guess I was able to see flaws that I didn't know that existed. Not having patience, that was one of my issues. Um, that piece really, and the I guess when you've been single for so long, we all have like this selfishness that we have because we're so used to being single, just taking care of yourself. Now you're coming together and you happen to think of another person. That I'm still working on that. So just those, just he was just like a mirror to my face. Like these are the things you need to work on. As I'm sure I was to him, but just speaking for myself, like you need to work on your patience. You need to work on being thinking more of for your husband, not being as selfish as you know when you're making decisions. I guess one good example would be like, before when you're not married and your friends ask you to go out somewhere, you can just go. You don't have to think about it. But now you gotta kind of be like, wait a minute, what plans does my husband have? Like, what do we have going on? You have to think of the other person before you make those decisions. So things like that. Those are some like a mirror of some ways I need to improve, I would say. Definitely.
I agree with that. I always say that your spouse or the
Mhm.
people within your household, they're your master teachers. So anything that you need to work on, more than likely that person is a pro at that. Like,
Mhm.
as you said, it was patience for you. So it's patience for me. It's not being as talkative.
Mhm.
It's focus and it's self-discipline. My husband, he has a master in all of those.
Mhm.
And it's really great that I get to experience that up front and personal because they said the five people that you hang out with the most, whatever, you normally, you can attribute your character to those individuals. And same with me. My husband, he's not a big reader, but because I'm a big reader, he picks up the book more. He picks up a book more than he would if he did not know me.
Right.
So I feel as though your spouse is your master teacher. You learn. It's not that they complete you because you're a whole being by yourself, but they help you become a better person. Iron sharpens iron.